live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.
Benny Ricciardi is here to break down the day's betting board for you.
Let's go, Jerry. Go!
Taking a first look at the day's bets, it's time for the FTN Betting Show. Welcome to the FTN Betscast for Monday, May 2nd here at FTN Bets, sponsored by our good friends at Sleeper HQ. Sleeper is the fastest growing fantasy platform today with millions of players. And now you could win on Sleeper by playing in their new over-under game too. It's actually super simple. First, in any sport, you're going to choose two or more players that you like, and you're going to pick whether you think they're going to go over or under their listed total. So, for example, the number of points in a basketball game, the number of rebounds tonight, the number of three-pointers somebody might hit. All you have to do is pick whether you think they're going to go over or under. You got to pick at least two, and then you're going to choose an amount of money that you want to enter into the contest. If your picks are correct, you could win anywhere from 2 times your money all the way up to 20 times your money if you go 5 for 5 on your picks. The main reason why I'm excited about this over-under game on Sleeper, though, is it is the only app where I could join with all my buddies and we could all play together. It has a built-in group chat where you could see what I'm putting in. I could see what wagers you're putting in for the day. And we could all look at the guy in our group who's won 3 or 4 days in a row and see what they're playing. This way we can copy it and play together. It's insanely fun when you have everybody in a group that's all rooting for the same things and everybody's sweating games together. And that's what it's really all about here. So stop what you're doing and download the Sleeper app now to play in their new over-under game and have fun with all your friends and make some money. Make sure to use promo code FTNBETS and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100, meaning if you put in any amount up to 100, they will double it. So you have twice as much money to play with here today. Again, download the Sleeper app, use promo code FTNBETS, deposit that full $100 to get the max bonus there. There are terms and conditions that apply, so definitely see the Sleeper's terms and conditions for use. Today, we're going to talk about the 2 NBA games here to start it off. The first one is going to be the series between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. And if we're going to talk about this series, we have to start right off the top with the big news that changed all the prices on everything. Joel Embiid will not be playing in Game 1 and Game 2 of this series. He did not travel with the team down to Miami, so he is not going to be involved in either one of these games here. Embiid took a shot to the face. I think he has a fractured orbital bone, if I'm not mistaken, is the way that the way that it is being listed and talked about here. We don't know if we're going to see him at all. I can't imagine he's not going to come back at some point during this series. But again, if it was serious enough for him to have to stay home and sit out Game 1 and Game 2, there is a chance that we don't see him at all here. It does make it a little bit tougher to talk about like the series price here. Normally we talk about the series price after we talk about everything else, but I think we need to talk about this first because a couple days ago when this series was first announced, the numbers came out. Miami was a minus 165 favorite to win the series. You could have gotten Philadelphia, I don't know, plus 130, plus 135, somewhere in that range. After the Joel Embiid news came out, Miami is now a minus 350 favorite to win this series. And Philly has shot up from plus 130, plus 135, all the way up to plus 270. So this is obviously a massive change in the way that bettors and sportsbooks are seeing this turning out with the Joel Embiid news and everything that's going on there. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about here because honestly, it's a big deal. Now, we do have some injury news on the other side of this game as well. Kyle Lowry is going to be out for at least Game 1, missed a couple games in the last series as well. There's a bunch of guys listed as questionable today for the Miami Heat too, but I'm assuming all of them are going to wind up, or at least most of them are going to wind up playing. You have Jimmy Butler, you have Tyler Hero, you have Max Strus, you have PJ Tucker, and you have Caleb Martin all listed as questionable here today. But like I said, the news that I'm hearing on all these guys is that they are going to be out there on the floor. So again, if one of those guys happens to be out, it depends which one. Like if Jimmy Butler's out, that's obviously going to change things a lot more than if Caleb Martin's out. But again, we still want to see how that's all going to play out later on in the day. As of now, I would assume that all those guys are going to be playing, even though they're all listed as questionable. But again, check back later in the day if we get any more news to see how that all worked itself out. So when this game opened, it opened with Miami as a 4.5-point favorite. That is now up to 7.5 points. If you're willing to play the Miami side, DraftKings has this at minus 105. That's the best price that's out there in the market. If you want to be on the Philly side of this game, plus 7.5, minus 110 is pretty much the standard number we see at every other sports book. So FanDuel, BetMGM, PointsBet, Caesars, Unibet, Sugar House, BetRivers, like they all have it at that plus 7.5, minus 110 number. So that would be the best number if you're looking to play the Philly side. And like I said, you could basically get that everywhere, but over on DraftKings. DraftKings is the one place you do want to try to play Miami. Rather than paying the minus 110 everybody else has it at, you can get it at minus 105 over on DraftKings. As for the total in this game opened at 207. It actually went up a little bit. I know you lose Embiid's offense, but you also lose Embiid on the defensive end of this game, which means that it is more likely that, more points are going to be scored. Same could be said for Kyle Lowry as well. Kyle Lowry is a solid defensive player, solid offensive player as well. But, this game does look like it should be a little bit higher here with those guys in. During the regular season, these teams played 4 times. It was 2-2 was the record for both. Philly actually did win one of these games without Joel Embiid. That was on March 21st for anybody who wants to go looking for the box score and kind of see how that thing worked out. The problem I have with doing too much of that box score, though, is I don't think James Harden played in that game either. So, Harden is going to be the guy who they're expecting to step up today. If there's no Joel Embiid, he's going to have to help carry this team. Him and Tyrese Maxey are probably going to be the 2 guys that have to do all the scoring here. As for who the direct replacement for Embiid is going to be, I got to be honest, we don't really know that. During the regular season, it was Andre Drummond, who's no longer with the team. They do have DeAndre Jordan now, so I would assume he plays a few extra minutes. Georges Niang played some extra minutes during the regular season in the games that Joel Embiid was out, so we may see a few extra minutes for him out there on the floor. They also had Reed, so he could be in the mix as well. I have no idea how the minutes are going to turn out. Nobody has any idea how the minutes are going to turn out. We can make our best guesses, and that's what we're going to try to do. But this is not a situation that is an easy one for us to project because we haven't really seen it happen before. So we don't know how Philly's going to be without Embiid and with Harden. We don't know which guys are going to step up and play the extra minutes. Hopefully, game 1 will give us a little bit of a glimpse into how they're looking to do the rotations there. But again, it doesn't look like it's going to be a positive thing based on the movement of, the spread and the series total line for, in Miami's favor and against Philadelphia. As for the total, like I said, 219, 181, 207, 197 are the 4 numbers that we've seen during the year. So I do think the under of whatever we can get this total at is probably the way to go. PointsBet has the best number on the under at 209. DraftKings has the best number on the over at 208.5. Both of those are sitting at minus 110. I started looking through to try to figure out where I wanted to make some over-under bets in this game. Look at some of the player props, see which ones we like for the over and the under. And it was real tough. Like a lot of people are talking about Tyrese Maxey here, and maybe Maxey does go out and have a huge game, but he played 3 games this year, and the games that he played without Joel Embiid this year, he averaged 23 points, 5 assists, 3.5 rebounds. His over-under numbers for today, 22.5 points, 4.5 assists, 3.5 rebounds. I just don't see any value there. Like those are basically his season averages. Again, maybe he does better. These are games he played without Embiid already anyway. So the shots, the extra minutes, the extra field goal attempts and all that was up. These are games that he played without James Harden. So we don't know how much of that, added stuff Harden would have to take. If anything, I would be leaning more towards the under on the Tyrese Maxey numbers here today. And I know that's the opposite of what everybody else is doing, who's looking to play him to the over. In terms of the sports books, in terms of the sleeper app, I don't really have any plays here on Maxey. I don't think there's any value there. The one guy that I am interested in for the over-under game here today is going to be Jimmy Butler. And the number that I like is Jimmy Butler over 5.5 assists. He averaged under 5 assists in the season in games that Kyle Lowry also played. In games that Lowry was out, though, he averaged over 7.8 assists per game in the 16 games that he played without Kyle Lowry. So right now on the sleeper app, you can get that Jimmy Butler assist number at 5.5 assists. On the sports books, it's as high as minus 141 on Caesars. And a lot of books already moved it up to 6.5 assists, namely FanDuel, Sugar House, and BetRivers all have it at 6.5 assists. They do have it at plus money, but they did move it up to 6.5 assists. If you're looking to play this on the sports book, BetMGM has this at minus 115. That's the best price we can find out there in the market for them. That is where I would look to be playing this if you can. And then also, again, on the sleeper app, if we can get over 5.5 assists, something that sports books have at minus 140, I think it's a really good price if you can get it there. So I like Jimmy Butler in that situation. I think that's going to be a good one. So now we can move on and talk about the next game. The next game is the Dallas Mavericks going up against the Phoenix Suns. So let's see here. Phoenix was 4-0 against Dallas during the regular season. They won those games by 1 point, 7 points, 8 points, and 8 points. So Phoenix 4-0 against Dallas this year does not bode well for, the Dallas Mavericks in this series. The number in this series, this game opened at -6.5. You could still find some -6s out there in the market. But for the most part, this hasn't moved too much. The game did open at, at 213.5 at the open for the total. That has creeped up a little bit, but not a ton. So we're not going to get too crazy about it. Let's see. In the games that they played against each other this year, 217, 203, 216, 210 were the totals. That's an average of 211.5. So a little bit below where, the numbers for today's games are here. As for the injury situation, this is a series where we don't really have much in terms of injury. Devin Booker is not 100%, but he is going to be playing. Tim Hardaway Jr., probably the only big name for Dallas that's not going to be playing, but he has been playing for most of the end of the last couple months here. So, like I said, not really anything that's going to change. Let's see. If I'm looking at a side in this game, not really interested in playing one side or the other here. I don't really think there's a lot of value on this number. Like I said, if you look at the numbers for the games that these teams have played, 1, 7, 8, and 8, you look at the number here today, you're looking at 6, or let's see, I think we could find some -5.5s, right? Yeah, we got some -5.5s here. You could get Phoenix at -5.5 on FanDuel at a -105. That's the best price for them there. On the Dallas side of this game, if you want to play Dallas, you could actually get Dallas +5.5, juice down to -105 as well over on DraftKings. So that's probably the best price to play if you want to be on that, Dallas Mavericks side of the game. As for the total here, let's see. You could get an under of 215 on Caesars at -110. That is the highest number out there if you want to play the under. If you want to play an over, you can get it at 214 on FanDuel, also at -110 there. I mean, I'm going to lean to the under in this game. That's probably the way that I'm looking at it. You can get that at Caesars, -110. Dallas plays at an incredibly slow pace and an even slower pace when Luka Doncic is back. And you're going up against the Phoenix Suns, who are one of the best defensive teams in the league. Not the best, but one of the best. So you have a really good defensive team and a really slow pace team. You put those two things together. It only went over that, 215 number. Well, they did go over it twice, 217 and 216. There was a 210 and a 203 there as well. Like I said, I think if you're going to play a number here, I like the under more than I like the over in this game. That's probably the way to go. As for the spread, though, I'm not really touching one side or the other. I'm kind of staying away from it. So let's see. Let's talk about some of the prop over-under plays that we could look at here. There isn't a ton that I love on the Sleeper app here today. I guess my favorite one would probably be Jalen Brunson over 3.5 assists. In 3 games against Phoenix this year, he averaged 6.7 assists. Again, one of those games I think was played without Luka, so he probably had a big assist game that game when the ball was in his hand. Just like we saw him have big assist games the first couple games of the last series when Luka didn't play. When Luka was back, he doesn't do as much of the ball handling, so he only had a couple assists in those games. But again, 3.5 is not a very big number. So I like the fact that we can get this number here at that level right there, because I think that's a good one to do. So the next one I want to talk about here, I guess let's talk about this DeAndre Ayton rebounding number here, because DeAndre Ayton did not have a very good rebounding series in the last series, but he wasn't expected to have a very good rebounding series in the last series. So I think he only went over double-digit rebounds in one of those games. But this is a very good rebounding matchup for DeAndre Ayton. We just watched Rudy Gobert have some really big games against this team in the rebounding department in the last series that they played. So I do think it's going to be one where we get kind of a little bit of upside here for DeAndre Ayton. 11.5 rebounds is his number at the sports books today and over on the Sleeper app. It's a big number. He's played this team a couple times this year. He's averaged 15 rebounds in the games against Dallas. So I do think it's a good one here, but it just gives me a little bit of pause because, Ayton has not been in the last series the guy that's, I don't look at Ayton like I look at Rudy Gobert, where he could grab 15 rebounds, or like, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Like, yes, Ayton is the center. Yes, Ayton is a big guy. Yes, Ayton should be able to rebound really well. It's just not something that I have a ton of confidence in. And you can even see that by the numbers. This opened at 10.5. A couple sites, had it juiced up now to like 130 or 140. The 11.5, the best number out there, is actually on Sugar House Bet Rivers Unibet. You can get the 11.5 at even money. That is where I think I'd be willing to kind of take a little bit of a flyer on this here. If I could get 8 and at even money, that is probably the highest I would go. If you got to pay minus 105 or minus 110, I would stay away from it. 8 and at even money, though, is pretty good. But again, if I have to play him at even money, do I really want to play him over on the sleeper app here? Because over on the sleeper app, there are things that we can play that are minus 125, minus 140, things that are like a 55 to 60% chance of happening. Something that's even money is a 50% chance of happening. I don't want to play something at even money when I have better options out there. Same thing with Devin Booker points here. In 3 games against this team, Devin Booker averaged 23.7 points. Well, Devin Booker's over-under number today is 23.5. That's exactly where it should be for a guy who's averaged 23.7 in 3 games against this team this year. So I don't really think there's any value on that number either. So I like the Brunson over 3.5 assists a little bit. I like Ayton over 11.5 rebounds a little bit. Those would probably be the only 2 that I would consider on the sleeper app here today. The other one that I'd be looking at on some of the sports books today, you could get some interesting numbers on Chris Paul. Chris Paul over 9.5 assists today is sitting at like minus 140, minus 150 even on some of these other books. Over 9.5 right now, minus 140 is not really a good place to play. But you could actually get him for a double-double on DraftKings at minus 125. Now, there are games where CP3 goes for 13, 14 assists and 8 points. So that is a concern. It is something you have to factor in. But if you're thinking that he's going to get his double-digit assist here today, the best way I can think to play this is by going over to DraftKings and playing that minus 125 double-double number. That double-double number is probably the best way that you could get some value out of this game today. So I do like CP3 double-double over, Over, minus 125 is where it is. Again, you could play the over 9.5 assists on some of the sports books. His assist number is not available on the sleeper app today. I looked, I was going to play the over on it. It was one of the things I had written down because I do think he ends up in double digits. I think he averaged 13 against this team throughout the regular season this year. So Chris Paul double-double, definitely something that I would be, at the very least, I'd be interested in getting some money down on the table for. So the last thing I want to talk about here is the series price. Phoenix Suns minus 300. That gives them about a 75% chance to win this series. Dallas Mavericks are at plus 245 here. I mean, honestly, if Devin Booker is healthy and able to play this series, I think Phoenix is going to win. Like I said, Phoenix swept the season series against the Dallas Mavericks. Only one game that was less than 7 that they won by here. They beat them twice at home. They beat them twice on the road. I just don't see any path forward here for Dallas. I don't think Dallas is any better now than they were during the regular season. I don't think Phoenix is any worse now, assuming Devin Booker is healthy, than they were during the regular season. So I just don't see any way that this series flips. If you want to take the minus 300 number, be my guest. If Dallas wins one of these first 2 games in Phoenix and we can get better than minus 300, maybe that would be the time when I'm going to be willing to jump in there. I do think Phoenix wins the series. I think they're going to move on. And I also think they win this game here tonight. Although, again, 5.5, not really the greatest number, but it is down from what it opened at minus 6.5. So I guess there is a little bit of value there if you want to look at it. So before I switch off of NBA here today, I did want to give you my NBA sleeper pick of the day. So my pick of the day, as you guys can probably assume, it's going to be one play from each game. So Jimmy Butler over 5.5 assists is the one I'm taking from the Miami Philly side of this game. And then on the other side of this game, I debated Jalen Brunson versus Ayton, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Jalen Brunson over 3.5 assists. So Jimmy Butler over 5.5 assists, Jalen Brunson over 3.5 assists. That is going to be my play of the day over on the sleeper app. And remember, go down in the description. You can click and join our sleeper group. Use promo code FTN when you deposit in the over-under game. Up to $100, they will match your deposit. So put in the full $100 if you can afford to. They'll give you another 100. That'll give you the maximum $200 to play with. And heck, if you put it on this play right here, this play will pay out 3-1 at the end of the day. So if you put the $100 in, you get the deposit bonus. You put it all onto, Jalen Brunson and Jimmy Butler over assist. If it does pay off, you turn that $100 deposit into $600 at the end of the day. That's a plus 500 return. That's a much better return than you would get by parlaying those two things together on any of the sports books out there. So definitely take advantage of what they're offering. We're going to take a quick break here and be back with more on the FTN Betscast, sponsored by Sleeper HQ. Welcome back to the FTN Betscast, sponsored by Sleeper HQ for Monday, May 2nd. We talked a little bit of NBA action in the opening. Well, we actually talked a lot of NBA action in the opening, but now we're going to move on and talk a little bit about the MLB games going on today. It's not the biggest slate of MLB games. I think we have 8 games total. 2 of them are afternoon games. The other 6 are going to go on at night here. So let's take a look at the games that we do have and see if there's any value, anything that we can look at and, try to make some money off of here. So the first game we have going up today is going to be, give me 1 second here. I got the wrong page up. Okay, now we're good. The Kansas City Royals against the St. Louis Cardinals. Zach Greinke against Steven Matz is the matchup here. I think we got the wrong team favored in this game, to be honest with you. So I do think there's a lot of value on the Kansas City Royals side of this game. You can get the Royals at Caesars at plus 145. They're plus 140, plus 135 at the rest of the books, but plus 145 at Caesars, I think, is a good number. I would be willing to take that number on Zach Greinke. Greinke has been good on the mound this year. Matz, on the other hand, has not been that good. He's got an ERA over 6 in the early going here. Let's see. The Cardinals are a big favorite at home. I mean, minus 160. Obviously that offense is elite, and this is something that you can look at here. But I actually think Greinke has a better chance than the books and the bettors are giving him. To win this game here. Yes, his offense isn't as good behind them, but again, if he could hold them down to maybe 2 runs and somebody gets a hold of one and hits a 2 or 3 run homer, or they manufacture 2 or 3 runs in a big inning, that could be all that Greinke needs to win this game here. So I do like the Royals at plus 145. Now, again, if this game is even money, I'm betting the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals are more likely to win this game. If they played this game 1,000 times, they're going to win more than half of them. I just don't think they're going to win enough to justify a price of minus 160 on this game, though. So give me that plus 145 on the Royals over at Caesars. If you do want to bet the Cardinals, minus 160, DraftKings BetMGM, best price you can get that. That is a 115 start at Busch Stadium today. Next game up in the afternoon is the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Chicago White Sox. Let's see, White Sox minus 130, minus 140. FanDuel minus 126 on the White Sox as a favorite here. Dylan Cease on the mound for them. Sandoval on the mound for the Los Angeles Angels. You can get them plus 120 on DraftKings is the best price. I'm seeing a lot of like plus 108 to plus 115 everywhere else out there in the market. So plus 120 on DraftKings, best price we can get on the Los Angeles Angels. Next game up, the Arizona Diamondbacks against the Miami Marlins. Let's see. We have Zach Allen on the mound for Arizona. Pablo Lopez on the mound for the Miami Marlins here. Marlins are favored at home, probably rightfully so as well. I don't think this is a bad number here if you want to take this number on Pablo Lopez. He's 3-0 on the year, 0.39 ERA. He's obviously been pitching really well. Zach Allen has a sub-1 ERA in the early going here too. So I think this is a game that really the best way to play it is kind of looking at that under there. I think that under is sitting at around 7.5. The under, I think, is a good one here. But I do also like the Marlins. I think the Marlins will wind up winning. Minus 155 is probably a fair price. There might be a little bit of value in there. Might be a little bit below where it should be, but not like a massive difference. If you want to play the Diamondbacks plus 140, you can get them on Caesars. And that minus 155 is on DraftKings and BetMGM for the Marlins. Now we move on to the next night game, which is the Minnesota Twins against the Baltimore Orioles here. Let's see, we got Paddock against Wells is the matchup in this one. Minnesota on the road is a road favorite. Minus 140, best number you can get on them. That's over at BetMGM, best place to play the Minnesota Twins. If you want to take a chance on the Baltimore Orioles here, what can we get them at? plus 115, plus 120, plus 125, plus 125 on the Baltimore Orioles, the best price we can get on them. DraftKings, PointsBet, Sugar House, Bet Rivers, Unibet, all have it at that plus 125 number if you're interested in getting money down on the Baltimore Orioles. My New York Yankees take on the Toronto Blue Jays, teams that are first and second in the AL East right now. So very good matchup here in the early going. Jordan Montgomery against Ross Stripling is going to be the pitching matchup here tonight. It's a very even. I mean, you look at FanDuel right now, it's minus 108, minus 108. You know, some of the other sites have it at like minus 110, minus 110. Best prices we can find in the market. The best price on the Yankees is that minus 108 over on FanDuel. The Yankees are probably a slight favorite in this game on all the other books. I'm trying to see if there's any other ones. Like I said, there's a couple minus 110, minus 110s too. But yeah, if you want to get the Yankees at the best price, minus 108 on FanDuel, best price for the New York Yankees. Toronto Blue Jays are like minus 105, minus 108, minus 110 on all the other books. The one book where they are even money plus 100 is at DraftKings. So if you're looking to play Toronto tonight, DraftKings has them at plus 100 even money. That is the best price you can get on Toronto Blue Jays. I am not touching this game. Part of it is because my Yankee fandom. The other part of it is because these are the two best teams in the AL East. They're going up against each other. The game is in Toronto. I would probably lean Toronto at even money if I had to pick something, but I'm not going to be betting against my Yankees. So I'll leave that for the rest of you guys out there. That is probably where the value is. Next game up is the other team from New York. We got the Atlanta Braves traveling to New York to take on the New York Mets. New York Mets also in first place at 16-7 here in the early going. Max Fried against Chris Bassett is going to be the pitching matchup in this one here. Pretty good pitching matchup. Two guys that have been pretty good here in the early going of the season. Another game that's, kind of floating around even on both sides here, even money. Atlanta on the road, if you want the best number, Unibet and Sugar House both have this at even money plus 100. Everywhere else, you're pretty much looking at a minus 105. So Unibet, Sugar House, Bet Rivers, if you want to bet Atlanta at even money. The New York Mets, the best price we can get on them, they're basically minus 120 or below everywhere in the market, but the best price is minus 115, and it's available in a lot of places. DraftKings has it there. BetMGM has it there. PointsBet has it there. Caesars has it there as well. So everybody but FanDuel and the ones that we talked about where you can get the plus 100 on some of those smaller books here. Minus 115 on the New York Mets. That's the best price we can get on them. Next game up, the Seattle Mariners against the Houston Astros. What do we got here? We got Marco Gonzalez against Jake Odorizzi. This should be a game where we get some runs. Houston is still favored, minus 135. Oh, minus 132 on FanDuel. Best price we can get on the Houston Astros. If you're looking to play the Seattle side of this, they're like plus 110 to plus 115 in most places. Plus 120 on DraftKings is the best number you can get on Marco Gonzalez. I honestly think I would rather be plus 120 on Marco Gonzalez than minus 132 on Jake Odorizzi. So if you're asking me where I'm leaning in this game, it's probably the Seattle Mariners. But it wasn't enough for me to qualify as like, hey, this is a bet I got to put in the bet tracker. But I do think there is a little bit of value on that plus 120 number for Seattle. And that brings us to our last game of the night, which is the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Oakland Athletics. Rasmussen versus Jeffries is the starter here. That just got posted. So I haven't done too much of my research into this game. I don't have a number on this game, but I will give you the best numbers on this game. Tampa Bay minus 155, best number out there in the market. They're basically minus 160 or below everywhere. You can get the minus 155 on Tampa Bay as a road favorite on DraftKings and BetMGM today. If you want to take the home dog in the Oakland Athletics, 125 is the low, 140 is the high. Here we go. Caesars has this number at plus 140. So that is the best place to get money down on the Oakland Athletics. Like I said, this is the one game I did not have a chance to dive into some of the pitching matchups here because they weren't listed last night when I was looking for them. So at this point, you guys are going to have to get over to ftnbets.com/pricing. Use promo code Benny. You could save 20% off. It gives you all the charts, all the graphs, all the analysis, as well as all of the expert picks from all of our experts, not just an NBA and MLB, but every sport, PGA, MMA, NHL, We had some NFL draft stuff go up next week. We're still waiting for schedules to be released. We'll probably have some NFL totals for wins coming up pretty soon. A lot of things going on over at FTN Bets. Remember, use promo code Benny, and that promo code also works on FTN Fantasy and FTN Daily. Any one of the FTN sites you decide to sign up for, you can save 20% by using promo code Benny. So get over there and check it out right now. And remember, if you haven't already, get over to the Sleeper app as well. Go down in the description. All this stuff is down in the description. If you're looking for sportsbook bonuses, you're looking to get into Sleeper with the bonus over there, you're looking to get in at a discounted rate over on FTN. All of this stuff is in the description of the podcast. So just go down, read it, check it out. All the links are there. Make sure you use the right promo codes. This way you're taking advantage of all the savings that you guys can get. So there you go. That's going to wrap it up for today's edition of the FTN Betscast here at FTN Bets, sponsored by Sleeper HQ. Good luck, everybody.
Live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.